I hope this begins soon now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There has to be some technical mistakes, which is
Yeah.
leading this way.
I have sent requests to Anjana also and to Dr. Siddharth and Dr. Sanjeev also again.
Okay.
Hopefully this should work now.
Okay. Somebody have informed me that if it won't work, we'll take Dr. Sanjeev Mehta Siddharth sir on WhatsApp call and put the video on here.
So he's unable to join. I don't know why.
Maybe because we have set the 4. If we have Dr. Siddharth Shah and Sanjeev Mehta coming, we can start.
Yeah.
Okay. And meanwhile, I'll just drop a.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sir is here now. Sir, you turn the phone into portrait mode. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Okay, fine. Sure.
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Now the picture is clear. And now we are waiting for Anjana madam to join in.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Let me
Sir,
just
perfect.
drop her the message. Let me just drop her the message. Yeah.
So till then she joined. We'll give you the introduction, viewers. Today we are going to discuss and talk with the experts here about SMA, that is spinal muscular atrophy. And for that we have experts here on live with us. First of all, I will introduce Dr. Siddharth Mehta. Dr. I'm very sorry, Dr. Siddharth Shah. He is a senior pediatric neurologist and he is trained in UK and also worked in UK for almost 10 years, and since 2011 he's practicing here in Ahmedabad, and he's attached with RICN, and his special interest is to treat neuromuscular disorders. The second guest we have is Dr. Sanjeev Mehta. Sir is a senior pediatric neurologist and he is working in Ahmedabad treating different pediatric disorders, neurological disorders since 2007. He's also attached with RICN. He's also attached with Civil Hospital, UN Mehta Hospital and KD Hospital. The third guest we have is Dr. Nilofer Vora Sheikh. She is a pediatric physiotherapist with us. She is working at, and she is also co-founder at Arsh Pediatric Clinic, a physiotherapy clinic at Ahmedabad, and she is NDT trained and also aquatic therapist. And she is deeply associated and connected with SMA Foundation, the community who works with SMA. And the fourth guest is Miss Anjana Raj. She is a parent of a SMA kid, and also she is a core member and coordinator of Cure SMA Foundation India, who represents Gujarat state. So I'll hand over the next session to Dr. Sadhana and Dr. Mansi madam. They will communicate and have an expert talk with our guests. Thank you all, and viewers, you are all welcome to our live session. Yeah.
Welcome you all. My first question is to Siddharth sir. Sir, what is SMA and what are the types of SMA? Can you please give the idea?
Okay. So, first of all, sorry for the whole technical issue, but finally we're all live and connected. So, let's go to the topic. So, spinal muscular atrophy, as has been introduced already, it is a rare genetic disorder. So, a lot of people, especially a lot of lay people, would not have heard about it. Maybe when we all joined medical school or physiotherapy college, we would not have heard about it. But once you, of course, enter this field, you will realize that it is a common rare disorder. So basically, the incidence is supposed to be around 1 in 10,000 live births, but the carrier rate is very, very alarming. It's said that in different populations, between 1 in 40 to 1 in 60 people will be a carrier for SMA gene. Now, how it gets transmitted is it is autosomal recessive. So there will be two carriers who come together, and as a couple, when they conceive, if by chance those two mutated genes come together, the child inherits what is called spinal muscular atrophy. Now, what happens in this disease? There is a lack of SMN, so that is survival motor neuron. So SMN1, survival motor neuron 1, is very, very important for all of us to maintain our mobility, to maintain what we do by moving, movement, sitting, walking, talking, everything. So in those children who have a deletion of this SMN gene, they have a lack of SMN protein, which affects your anterior horn cells, your brainstem, and via that it means that children have a lack of muscle mobility. And this often starts with the lower limbs, but then it gradually involves other muscles as well. So that is your upper limbs, swallowing muscles, respiratory muscles, and even intestinal muscles. So it can become a disease which progressively involves all your muscle groups. So basically, in short, that is what SMA is. Now, in terms of types of SMA, so there are basically practically type 1, 2, and 3. So type 1 SMA is the commonest type, but it is also the most severe type. So this is where the child often presents to you between 3 and 6 months of age with a history that the mobility in his lower limbs or her lower limbs is reduced. And once examined and if you investigate the patient and confirm it, it gets confirmed as SMA type 1. So around 60% of patients with SMA are SMA type 1. They rarely develop the ability to sit, and it is unfortunately a fatal condition if not treated. SMA type 2 is a slightly milder variety, so they often present a little bit later. So that is around 9 to 12 months or around 18 months of age. These children often do develop the ability to sit, but they don't develop the ability to stand. And then the even more milder and rarer variant is SMA type 3, in which people walk but have difficulty in using their proximal and distal muscles in the lower limbs. Now, in theory, there can be SMA type 0. So that is the most severe type. It presents often in fetal or just at birth with contractures, with severe problems, weakness and swallowing difficulties, and is lethal. And a much more milder variant, which can even present in adulthood, is described as SMA type 4. So I'll repeat, there's SMA type 1, 2, and 3. 1 is commonest, 2 is slightly more common, so 60%, about 30%, and then SMA type 3, which is a little bit rare. And then SMA type 0 and 4, which have been added in the classification.
Okay. Sanjeev sir, warm welcome.
Yeah,
Sir, can you guide us, like, what is the prevalence of SMA in and what is the reason behind the SMA? We have understood that gets affected, the neurons don't regenerate, the generation stops. But what is the reason behind the affection of SMA?
Yeah. Good afternoon. Yeah, as Dr. Siddharth has mentioned about the prevalence, Indian data are lagging. So still we are using Western data, and we think they are almost same. The prevalence is out of 10,000, one child is carrying this disease basically. Can be type 1, type 2, type 3. Most common is type 1. And it is being inherited. So basically genes are being carried from mother and father. Actually, we have two copies of genes, one from mother and one from father. If we are carrying only one gene which is mutated abnormal, so other gene helps us to carry the work. Genes mainly helps in building protein. So that, in absence of both the genes, we do manifest the disease basically, because there is no one gene copy to help us. There are many diseases which can be inherited. Thousands of genes has been described from human body,
and most of the genes are being linked with particular function in the body. So these genes, which is abnormal on chromosome number 5, being carried from both the parents, one gene abnormal from the mother and from the father. So 2 copies becomes abnormal in that life, so they manifest the disease. One gene is fine, but both the genes are abnormal, so we carry the disease. And it is called autosomal recessive. So we need to have both the abnormal genes to manifest the disease. Both the genes are abnormal. So there are 2 genes mainly, SMN1, which is the main taking part in developing the SMN protein, which is full length protein, which helps us to maintain the anterior horn cells, that is motor neurons. And SMN2 has little role, but still it is useful, but not like SMN1. So SMN gene 2 is available, but it is taking part only in 10% of the formation of the protein. So in absence of SMN gene 1, because of deletion or mutation, only 10% of protein roughly develops. That leads to the degeneration, gradual death of the anterior horn cells, which conveys the message to through nerve and finally to the muscles to act different actions basically. So in absence of that, we gradually muscles become weaker, more and more number of neuron cells reduces, and this weakness is gradually increases, and we worsens according to the severity. For type 1, usually we don't live beyond 2 years. Yeah. So this is autosomal recessive condition because of abnormal genes on the chromosome number 5. So both the copies are abnormal. That leads to absence of or very less SMN protein. That's how we get the SMA disease.
Okay. Siddharth sir, I would like to ask, like you already said that it's a progressive. So the symptoms are the same all symptoms, and what can we see, or what are the common clinical signs you find in a child, or what are the signs parents look for to understand the child is might be having motor delay?
Yeah. So, I mean, of course, a floppy baby or weakness of muscles, we use this terminology to give a label to patients that who can present with SMA-like symptoms. You have to remember there are hundreds and hundreds of conditions which can present with weakness of muscles or like a floppy baby. So, what are the telltale signs of a child with SMA? Number 1, this is a progressive disease. So often if you listen to the history of the parents carefully, they will absolutely be sure that no, my child was moving his lower limbs when he was 2 months old. He was kicking them with them, and it has become progressively weaker. So it's not acute. It doesn't happen overnight. And it was normal before. And over a few months to weeks, basically there is weakness. There are a few other symptoms as well, along with the weakness in the lower limbs. So the lower limb weakness is more than the upper limbs, one pattern. Plus, you will often see weakness in the respiratory muscles. So the chest looks like a bell shape, and also there is abdominal breathing. So the abdominal muscles seem to be moving more. Another telltale sign which we are taught in medical school is the very alert face. Remember, this does not involve the facial muscles. This disease does not involve the intelligence of the baby. So what you see is a very intelligent, bright child with this weakness in the lower limb, with the respiratory abnormality. Another telltale sign or diagnostic sign that is often described is fasciculation. And this is abnormal rippling-like or contractive movement in the muscles. You can often see it in the tongue. You can even see it in the smaller muscles or the upper limb muscles, or especially if you tap the muscle and you activate it, you can see the fasciculation. This is particularly SMA type 1, where you see a progressive decline. SMA type 2 is often slightly more difficult to diagnose. In those patients, they often present with ability to sit, but not able to stand. And again, the floppiness in the lower limbs is often quite diagnostic with absence of reflexes. SMA type 3 can be even more difficult because it's going to be milder and the disease can mimic a lot of other similar looking conditions. But basically, this is the diagnostic pathway or these are the diagnostic signs when you should think of SMA.
Okay. So my next question is to Dr. Nilofer. Nilofer, as Siddharth sir told, there are some signs and symptoms. Can you please tell any other clinical signs which you can see, or are sensations affected in this particular SMA?
Yeah, so as Siddharth sir has already described many signs and symptoms that you can understand that what you're going to see in SMA or what is different also. With that, we see a major complaint that we see with any type of, especially type 1 and type 2 is like whenever a parent try to hold the kid, okay, from the floor, kid is never going to hold the head up. The kid is never will be able to bring the head up, and that's we heard a lot, we see a lot in the clinic. Either with the type 1 and type 2, the body might raise with the type 2, but the head never comes up without any head. So that's the feature we see a lot. As sir has already said, we see a lot of floppiness in their muscles. The joints are very laxate. They go beyond the range. They are very loose at a time. With that, in many kids, if not treated, we see a contractures and the tightness also. Okay, so that we also often see in the hamstring muscle, in the ankle muscles, that they are tighter. Even with the flexibility and even with the floppiness, we see if it stays untreated, we see a tightness. As sir has already said, the respiratory is quietly involved in the SMA. The parents and the kids have a complaint of getting repetitive infections of the chest. Okay, they may have, many kids have pneumonia, which is repetitively and recurrence of there. The cough reflex are very slow. Like when you would ask them to cough, specifically 1 and 2, you won't see any stronger cough reflex, and that's make the respiratory muscle to prone more for infection because they can't bring anything out of their chest if infected. So those are the condition we see. Many kids who comes in an older age, we might see deformities in the rib cage, like we see barrel rib cage, we see a pigeon chest, we also see a scoliosis in a S and C shape, any formation because of the muscle imbalance in the body. So yeah, there are also symptoms like this we can see. They have inability to roll. Parents have that complaint that even when they roll, they can't right their head. They will be dragging their head even when they roll, and the movement will be very slow even in the rolling. The head righting won't be there, especially when they are supine. They can do it, but supine they will be totally fail to take the head. 1 and 2 both.
Siddharth, what are the diagnostic tests to diagnose this particular symptom?
Sorry, is that me or is that Sanjeev bhai who's asking?
Siddharth sir.
Okay. So, yes, so that's, as we understand this disease much more and as clinicians and lay people become more aware about this, I think that is one thing that has improved in my, and I have seen improving in my career, that there's a lot more awareness about this condition in doctors. So once you come in with these typical signs symptoms, previously we used to do what is called an EMG and NCV, which is a slightly painful test. So EMG is electromyography and NCV is nerve conduction velocity, and this can give you a clue about this particular condition. You would probably do a CPK test to make sure this is not a primarily muscle disease. So if you had a congenital muscular dystrophy, then the CPK would be in hundreds and thousands. So that would help you rule out this congenital muscular dystrophy. In SMA, it tends to be normal or just slightly elevated, so it is not diagnostic for SMA. But what needs to be done to confirm SMA is the genetic test for it. So either you get a PCR test or you get a MLPA test. Now the difference is the MLPA test will give you the copy number for SMN2. And that has become slightly more important now in terms of its classification and the newer treatments becoming available. So I would recommend you go for an MLPA test straight away from the beginning. It's a simple blood test, so you take about 2 ml of blood, you send it to one of the laboratories. There are a number of laboratories that do it in Ahmedabad. They do it very reliably, and it has become fairly cost effective. So even to the extent that a number of textbooks and papers have started describing that if you see a child who possibly has SMA type 1 or type 2 and they have the classical sign symptoms, don't do any of the tests that I just described, and straight away just go for the genetic test. The other good thing about the genetic test is the turnover time is about 8 to 10 days. So, of course, parents are going to be anxious once you've sent the report. When is the report going to be back? Is it going to be positive? Is it going to be negative? And they don't have to wait a long, long time. The other thing about this test is that a lot of genetic tests, or any test for that matter, might not be sensitive and specific. But this test is very, very sensitive. It picks up most patients with SMA. It will not pick up if you've got a point mutation and you would have to do a second test for that. But other than that, it will pick up all the tests, all the patients with SMA, and it is a very specific test as well.
Okay. Sanjeev, sir, I would like to ask you whether SMA is it curable and the medical line of management for this?
Yes, a lot of advancement has occurred, but still we won't say it is curable. But yeah, there is a lot of hope now coming up with a lot of development in gene therapy and a lot of newer mode of medicines. But still, we won't say curative. But in near future, we may be. But it is really definitely helpable in many ways. Treatment does not always mean only means curative medicine. There are many different ways you can help the child. If not curative, you can prevent the progression of the disease. Or even from the family history, if you can pick up without before the symptoms starts, you can hold the progression and you can increase the life expectancy and reduce the life. So since last 5 years, there are 3 useful medicines, different way of medicines have come up, which is really helping them, and there is a lot of array of hopes for the cure from this juncture onwards. There are 3 medicines which is being used. Not that much available in India, but still in near future we are likely to get it. So there are 3 medicines. One is called Spinraza, nusinersen. One is Zolzen SMA, and another is Risdiplam. So what is the motto of all these medicines? How they work? They all improve the SMN protein, what we need to maintain the life of the anti-neuron cell, and that way we maintain the muscle strength basically. So in different way, one is called gene therapy and other are little different mode of treatment, but they all helps in improving the full length of SMN protein, which helps the anti-neuron cell disease life, and that's why we are going to maintain their strength, muscle strength. And beyond that, definitely we need to address different comorbid conditions or different problems arising from the muscle weakness. There is pulmonary system we need to maintain. They have hypoventilation because of lack of muscle strength. They have hypoxia and hypercarbia. Gradually, oxygen gets down and carbon dioxide increases. We need to help with a lot of cough, protective reflexes, and non-invasive ventilation if required, invasive ventilation. So, and then we need to help nutrition. Then definitely physiotherapy role is very major. Also, we need to help with a lot of orthosis, some deformities we need to take care of. But just briefly, I want to tell about the 3 medicines. Rest of things, even physiotherapy point of view and orthosis, Dr. Nilofer will describe in a better way. So 3 medicines, like one medicine, Zolzen SMA, is being used below 2 years, so mainly in SMA 1. Very costly affair, but still people have tried and they found in different studies they tried over a couple of years, and they found they start sitting, which was not possible before this medicine has come up. And few people stands, and few people even walks. So a lot of improvement, which was we never thought in a dream, basically. And other two medicines, this Zoltan SMA is being applied only one single dose. It's an injectable form, easy to give, but the only thing is difficult to get it and very costly, but very good medicine in single shot. Nusinersen, that is Spinraza, we need to give every 4 months, and that is to be given inside the spinal cord. That is called intrathecal. We need to give it every 4 months. Also, it is being used for type 1, type 2, and type 3. So all severity of patients can get Spinraza. And also, they have shown a lot of improvement in the strength of the muscles, reduces the need of ventilation. Even nighttime non-invasive ventilation also can be get rid of. And definitely, patient can walk a longer time, and the life expectancy increases. And third medicine is Risdiplam, which is the only oral form of treatment to increase the SMN protein, which is to be taken daily. Also is very likely to help the type 1, type 2, and type 3 patients. So these are the medical part will come in our country. We are hoping. And there are few companies have been provided few doses. One of the colleagues from Hyderabad, Mumbai, they have used it and they all are happy. We hope more and more patients will get it.
Yes.
Sure.
Sir, can you tell the cost of the medicine, because the Zoltan, that is the costliest drug.
It is around single dose, but it is costing approximately 14 to 15 crores at present. So it's even difficult for most of us to go for it. But everything, every new molecule with a lot of effort, it remains very expensive, but gradually things will improve.
Yeah, sir, even the even
Voice is cracking.
the Spinraza, even I think that
Spinraza, again, it is costly because we need to give less costly as compared to Zolgensma, but Zolgensma is on. That is around 12 lakhs, $1,25,000 for each injection, basically. So every 4 months and lifelong, it is say you need to take it lifelong. So if you count even for 10 years, it will be too much for anybody.
So can you just tell the and prognosis of each and every SMA?
Prognosis.
Prognosis. It depends on severity. So type 0, which is very uncommon, they don't survive for more than 3 to 4 months. But fortunately, we don't see that often. Type 1, which is the commonest. If you don't do any aggressive treatment like ventilation or even non-invasive ventilation at home, usually they die by 2 years of age. And they're never able to sit, definitely, without any medicine which is being now useful. Type 2, they start sitting between 16 to 18 months, but they never stand up on their own and they never walk. Gradually, they improve, but after in a mid-teens or even after in a mid half of third decade, they again deteriorates and they lose the ambulation also. There is a possibility. And if we think about the life expectancy in type 2, so there are a lot of studies, they followed it by 20 years. So around 75 to 77 people of SMA type 2, they still remain alive after 20 years, basically. But life expectancy is less than what we are, basically. Like a normal person, we can't expect like a normal person. Considering type 3, they walk, but there is definite proximal weakness, the difficulty in climbing, running, not possible for them. Again, gradually they progress and they become more weak. They may lose the ambulation. They will be able to sit, definitely. And life expectancy in type 3 is almost like us, almost near to normal at present.
So, Nilofer ma'am, what is the physiotherapy management for the same? Sir talked about the physical management. Can you please turn some light on the physiotherapy management for SMA?
Physiotherapy management, it actually plays in a two ways for any SMA kids. The first is the musculoskeletal management, and the second would be the respiratory care management. As I said, I will always emphasize both are equally important. But if, for example, I'm treating a kid with SMA1, my more emphasis would be on the respiratory care, because as sir has said that many of won't be able to be with us for a longer time if not given any treatment. So we ask them to do a sleep study and many other study which gives the idea about the ventilation of them. And on base of that, doctors and therapists do give them BiPAP for a longer expectancy. And we also in the therapy centers or at home ask the parents to do use a cuff assistance technique. We ask them a cuff assistance devices. We ask them every therapy which is possible to increase their cuff reflex, increase their ventilation. But in SMA1, as Sarah says, we can try our best to increase the respiration, to increase the musculoskeletal system. But if they are not been receiving a treatment, we can't expect them to be with us for the long time. Many times we see the SMA1 kids as a stronger represent also. This is what I have clinically seen, that being even SMA1, a few kids are much stronger than the another one with the same type. So there we will try on musculoskeletal management. We will try our best to make them sit with the different supports, make them roll moreover, that they can they can be and mobile during their daily lives, and they can't be too much tight. They should we try to avoid any deformity, but treatment is the only hope for them. Physiotherapy in SMA1 can try to improve the respiration and musculoskeletal by making them sit with support or giving a respiratory care. In SMA2 and type 2 and 3, therapy can do a lot of treatments. We can do a lot of closed.
I think Nilofer's video has
Turn back. Nilofer ma'am, we can hear you now. Can't see you.
Yes. So I think till she's back, I'd like to support.
Something just happened. Okay. So yeah, in 2 and 3, we would be, we can, with the land therapy, we can also enhance aquatic therapy in type 2 and 3 to improve musculoskeletal strength, stability, flexibility, endurance that we all required. With that, we can also try to do certain, we send the kids to the SLP, speech language pathologists, which can help them for better swallowing, because they have a lot of swallowing problem. Many kids with a 1 and 2, so we send them to the SLPs also for making swallowing much better. We go for swallowing study. But yeah, the goal for any type 1, 2, and 3, we segregate the goals, and according to that we apply the physiotherapies. Okay, and the main target of our would be the respiratory care, the flexibility, the endurance of the muscle, because they have a lot of fatigue issue. Like SMA kid, if I have a type 2, and with all the therapy, if I'm making the kid walking on the reverse walker on this stick, but they won't be able to do it for a longer time. So endurance training is something that they require a lot. So these are the things I will try to manage: the flexibility, endurance, stability, because the big joints like shoulder joint and hip joints are not too much stable and strengthened like us. So there are chances of hip dislocation, in many cases shoulder dislocations also. So those bigger joints need to be taken care while doing the therapy, even at a home. So that's the goal I will put for any SMA kids.
Okay. Nilofer ma'am, can you highlight few exercises that you give for the SMA kids, the upper limb, lower limb, and you go for which, the open chain one or the closed one? Any assistance?
Yeah. Sure. See, if I will ask any kid of SMA involvement to do a lot of open chain exercise at home and many time in the clinic in the beginning when we are starting the therapies, like when they are not too much not ready to do the exercises. So we prepared by doing a lot of open chain exercise. We create a lot of muscle memory and we try to activate motor neurons. So we will enhance. I will enhance a lot on the open chain exercise at home and in the therapy center in the beginning. But eventually, gradually, for more functional improvement, I would like to go on the closed chain exercises where I can try get the biggest muscles like gluteus maximus, quadriceps, abductors muscle, their plantar flexors, their ankle muscles. So that I will do a lot even in the closed chain exercise. So it's not that if you do the open chain, you will not emphasize on closed chain. If you do a closed chain, you don't emphasize on open chain. They both work parallel, but with parents can't manage the kids at the home in the closed chain exercises. So we do give them advice to do a lot of open chain exercise. So when the kids regularly come with us, okay, we have some muscle activity which is already ongoing. But yeah, definitely in SMA, one thing you need to be very much to be careful about is not to give too much repetition at a time, because their muscles get fatigued, and once they get fatigued, they won't be able to do anything further. So there are regular intervals during the exercise that need to be given to calm down the muscles and to calm down the body as well. So that need to be taken care even you're doing open chain or closed chain. And apart from that, in the now times, we are also applying aquatic therapy in SMA kids because they have a very weak core muscles and the quadriceps also very weak. So the property of water, which is called buoyancy, really help us to bring some of the work which we are able to fail at the leg. So these are the techniques and exercise I would try on any SMA kids.
Okay, ma'am. You were saying something.
Yes, so basically what Nilofer was just saying is very, very important, because whilst there is this ray of hope, as Sanjeev Bhai said about the newer medicines, they still are very costly. They still probably don't improvise your condition 100%. And in the wait for those medicines, you have to follow the standards of care that have been set along for any patient with SMA. So if you're a parent out there with a child with SMA, please, 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 my request is that, you need to look after your child and keep the child as normal, as safe, as well as possible to access those treatments in the future. So don't forget to go to your physiotherapist, use ortho. Make sure that your child doesn't get respiratory infections and doesn't end up in PICU, and have regular visits with your doctor as well. So that is at least something we have in hand and we can definitely do. And of course, hope and pray in the meantime that we will have access to the curative or the treatments that can help improvise your child.
Yes. What Siddharth sir has said is very important, because by the time this drug are available for us, and those drugs also have some sort of a standard when they are newly coming to India or any specifically India as much I know. So you need to take care of your kids' respiratory system a lot. The lung has to be healthy. The muscle should be working. They should not be developing scoliosis beyond a level. So they will be eligible for any treatment which will be in the future available in India with us.
Okay. Nilofer ma'am, as we know that mobility of the children is limited. Yeah. So what are the assistive devices which are routinely used in such conditions, and in the orthoses which are helpful in this condition?
So there are multiple orthoses we use to on the kids, depend what mobility we want in the kid and what is the level of the kid. The first orthosis that we suggest to any kids who's beyond 4 years and maybe developing scoliosis, because scoliosis is very likely to develop in the SMA due to the muscle imbalance. So we would suggest them to go with the braces, spinal braces that cannot prevent the scoliosis, but definitely try to manage it. We can lower down the ratio or at the length that scoliosis is increasing. So spinal braces is very important. If you see a kid's developing a lighter amount of scoliosis been development, so you do that. A scoliosis brace is very important. The other orthoses we use are the leg orthoses like night splints or AFOs and ankle foot orthosis. So, for example, if I've been treating a kids who have a good range in the knee, so I would give them an AFO. With the help of that, they will be able to stand with the exercise, of course. They'll be able to stand. They'll be able to take steps on the reverse walker. And many times the kids in their mid-age will be able to take a step, especially type 2 I'm talking about, will be able to take a steps independently. Or a nice splint is also very important because they are prone to have a hamstring tightness, the TA tightness. So to maintain the flexibility is important for them to wear at a regular interval to wear neck splints. As well, we use a Spio in the kids. It's a special material type of a very flexible orthosis, so I can't say, but a suit that comes, which we can use in the kids to get a more trunk control, so their periphery can move easily. Okay, so
Yeah,
Spio is something. Yeah, so Spio is also. Okay, the other devices are the respiratory devices. If your kids require, many kids we do suggest spirometry, so strengthen their respiratory muscles. We also, in many cases, we give a flutter also, but that to be taken care by the combination of therapists and neurologists and pulmonologists both. So there the team expand more for the SMA and more devices can be introduced. But when it comes to physiotherapy, these orthoses we use more.
So my next question is to Anjana ma'am. Ma'am, when you came to know that you're suffering from SMA, what was your reaction and how you coped up psychologically, physically, and emotionally? How you coped up this situation?
My daughter, she was diagnosed just 2 weeks before her first birthday. She's a strong type 1. She's borderline of type 1 and type 2, more like a type 1, because her sitting is not good. So, and head control is not that excellent. So, she's categorized as a strong type 1. So, just 2 weeks before her birthday, first birthday, we got her diagnosis report, which was totally unexpected, because we already knew that we have given blood for this SMA test, and we were expecting that no, this can't be the result, not this disease, maybe something else. That's what we were thinking. But to our dismay, it came as positive. And at that time, we were at our native place, surrounded by relatives. It was quite difficult to cope up and to smile at the cameras when we celebrated our first birthday. And more importantly, we were like, because it was written in the report that it was type 1, and with the Google search and all, like it's very common for all the parents to search. And then we were like, okay, this might be our last chance to celebrate her birthday, because she might not even celebrate her second birthday. That's what the feeling we had at that time. And after we came back to Gujarat, it was like, again with the Google search for a good reason, we got to know about Cure SMA India, and we got connected with this parent support group. And through the group, I got to know about many parents and their children who are doing really well at schools and even competitive exams, CBSE toppers. So we got to know about many parents who are taking good care of their children. So that gave us hope, and mostly the support from family, obviously, from my husband, from Cure SMA India, from parents. And most importantly, the positive driving force was obviously our daughter. She's a gift, actually. She's very bright, and we are very proud of her. So that is the driving force, and that is how we cope up with this disease, and we'll definitely do our best to keep her in good health.
Anjana ma'am, can you we've got to know you are a core member of the Cure SMA India Foundation group. So can you just highlight the activities of the group, and actually what is the of this group?
Sure. Just starting as a mere member of Cure SMA India, now I'm one of the core members of the of this group, and I'm Gujarat State representative as well. Cure SMA basically it's a parent-led community. It is also a registered charitable trust, and we aim for actually the main aim is to bring treatment for all, for to make the treatment affordable, accessible, and with no barrier who will receive it and who will not receive it. Everyone should receive the drug. That's what we dream for. And for this, we try to establish more SMA clinics in the states. We already have few, but we are planning to extend our this service to more. We are trying to collaborate with more hospitals in India, and we are trying that in all states. And also, we regularly meet with government officials. We meet with central and state government officials to make this drug accessible when it finally gets marketed in India. It should not be like drug is there, but it's not accessible. What is the point then? So we are constantly trying and meeting with government officials to make this drug accessible and affordable. And also we work very closely with the pharmaceuticals like Biogen, Novartis, and Roche, which already has approved treatments for SMA like this Risdiplam, which is also called Evrysdi, Spinraza, and Zolgen SMA. And we have been very instrumental in bringing these treatments under humanitarian access program, like in the case of Zolgen SMA, compassionate access program in the case of Risdiplam, and also a Spinraza access program, which the program is ongoing. It's still live. So all these programs, we have been very instrumental in bringing the treatment to India and advocating our need and to get it in India, to at least to make people aware of such treatment, availability of such treatments. And also we have a in our website, if you go to our website, there is a option to register with us. So once registered, we have a social media presence in Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. Everywhere you can post a query. Any parent can post a query, and we are committed to answer. We also have a doctor's scientific advisory board, which works along with us, who are very compassionate doctors who help us when we have any difficulty with the patient query or anything like that, any support. And also very helpful physiotherapists like Nilofer ma'am. We collaborate with all these eminent doctors and physiotherapists and everyone, like whoever, from wherever we can get help, we get. And also we extend the support to all the parents who are registered with us. So this is how we function.
Anjana ma'am, can you give some advice to the parents who stay from SMA, and would you like to put some message to government or any organizations through this platform?
Yes, of course. Just like Nilofer ma'am and Siddharth sir had mentioned, to keep our children, palliative care, it's a very important factor in this case, because we don't know when we are going to get medicine. So till then, to keep our kids in good shape, good health, it is very important to collaborate. To meet the doctors. That is why this SMA clinic is very important, because we have doctors of different specialities under one roof then. So you will not miss out to meet your orthopedician, you will not miss out to meet your pulmonologist, so and your therapist. You get advice and special care from all these doctors. So it's very important to keep a check on your regular health, and not, the focus should not be on the medicine, the focus should be on your health and how positive you keep it. And it's not like the end of the world. The diagnosis is not the end of the world. Definitely there is light at the end of the tunnel, and we'll definitely reach there. So be positive, take this palliative care seriously, and go ahead. Like, nothing is impossible, everything is possible. So be positive. And also to the government, as I already said, accessibility, affordability of the medicine. Because as sir had already mentioned, type 1, 60% of the diagnosed cases are considered to be type 1. and they don't have the liberty of time as well. So when we wait, we already lost many patients from our family. We consider Cure SMA as our family. So we have already lost many children, those who are known to us, and it's really sad to see them going. Many of them are very intelligent writers, artists. They're talented, not only in academics. They are really good at academics as well. So why aren't we denying the future of these children? Like, they are really, really good in all these fields. So why to deny the right to live? So affordability obviously is a help that we need from government, and also to consider our case in the next budget 2021-22. That is another request that we would like to put forward to the government. And also as I already told you, like SMA clinics in all states, that is gonna help us in many ways. So at least one government institute per state would definitely help us. The centers of excellence per one clinic per state. That is what we are trying to get now.
So this was a very informative session about SMA. So before concluding, Siddharth sir or Nilofer ma'am, would you like to say something from your side?
Yes, so I mean, I'll let Nilofer add afterwards, but I think it's a team effort. So number one, it starts with the child, the parent, as Ms. Anjana said. Basically, you need a lot of specialists. So it's your pediatrician, it's your neurologist, it's your physiotherapist, it's your orthopedic surgeon, it's your endocrinologist, it's your gastroenterologist. And it would be wonderful to have a joint care, between different specialties. And recently, that's how we all connected, and we are thinking of starting a Gujarat SMA clinic very soon as well. Of course, whilst all these wonderful medicines are on their way to provide the best possible care, look after your children, look after our patients, and that is the way forward, I think.
Yeah, I would also like to introduce, Anjana has already introduced how Cure SMA works, and I have closely seen that battle when they have first opened up their Facebook page. From that to this 9 year of a journey, it's excellent. The parent had made a huge changes. So I think we all as a doctor, and Siddharth sir and Sanjeev sir will also agree, we doctor have to come forward to help them as much as possible, because they have made a huge change in the view, the way we view the SMA, and it has changed. And do not lose the hope. As Anjana said, it's not the end of the world, because it's not my word, it's the mother who's saying, and that's the strongest thing we need to should we remember. It's not the end of the world. So let's just give your 100% from every profession, for every parents, to keep them in a shape till the miracle drug do arrive. And it is, I think, on the way, and we are going to have, one day I hope that world will be free of SMA, and every kid would have a treatment available. So that's my prayer, that's my wishes to everybody, and just keep your kids safe from respiratory system and from muscular system. Take everybody's help. Every doctor is important. Nobody can replace other specialties. So see pulmonologist, see neurologist, see orthopedic. Everybody is as much as important.
So this was very informative session about SMA. I'd like to thank Siddharth sir, Sanjeev sir, Nilofer ma'am, and Anjana ma'am for that precious time, for sharing the knowledge on this platform. And so to conclude the session over here. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, JG Therapy. Yeah. Thank you so much, JG College, for providing us a platform to make awareness about the SMA. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much from the bottom of the heart. Thanks.
Thank you.